Hey guys, this is Tom from Marshall Tactical Defense. Today we're going to discuss the do's and don'ts of church security. The first one we want to make sure that is we know what our purpose is. We should be formally an eyes and ears team, which is basically just observing and reporting information. If something serious does happen, trying to get the first responders there as fast as possible. We don't want to overstep our boundaries, and most of these times, whether you have a paid or unpaid team, it's important not to create potential legal issues for the church. So knowing that mission first is very important. We actually put that in our documentation that we're an eyes and ears team. That will actually help protect you legally too, especially if you're a volunteer team and not paid, or if you're unlicensed. Number two is know your self-defense law. This is definitely a do. It's very important you know what you can and can't do, especially if you don't have people that have proper licensing. If you have an active duty police officer, they have a lot more flexibility with the law than somebody that's just a volunteer. So it's very important that you know the law. I recommend getting some legal counsel. If you have any gun insurance, some of those programs will have attorneys that you can call for free legal advice. So we actually did that when I set my team up. So we work hand in hand with them, asking them questions. It's a great resource at little cost. Basically, just it's your yearly premium. So definitely take advantage of that, guys. Work with them hand in hand to make sure when you're setting up your training and your protocols that you know where the boundaries are, what you can and can't do. So you don't act like bouncers or licensed law enforcement officers. Without that proper licensing, you can get in some serious legal trouble. Number three is focus on your purpose. We found this out because, especially if you're, depending on how visible the team is, we just utilize two-way radios with earpieces. So people will see that, and if they have questions, they'll come up to you for help, and that's fine. We want to be courteous and helpful in our service, but we don't want to get distracted where we're running here and there doing errands or helping certain rooms get set up or different things. You'd be surprised what you get asked for. We have to stay on point on what our main purpose is, and that's to make sure we have a safe environment for the congregation. So just be careful that there's a little bit of a balance there. You want to be helpful with people, but at the same time, you feel like you're asking too much of you other side of the protection responsibilities, then maybe you have a conversation with the pastor. If it's just something that's on the fly, that you can just ask direct it to another person that can give them more assistance if it's going to take a while. So just need to keep that balance and that focus and remember what you're there for. Number four is team size. This is not one size fits all, guys. So you have to look at the size of your congregation, the size of your campus. If you have a school on the property, a church, and maybe a recreation center, you're going to need more people to make sure that's secure. Especially if you have an operating school on a premises, that's a whole other consideration, and a lot goes into that, and with legal aspects. So you kind of have to see what the needs are for the parish. So you don't have to have. You can make it, if you have a small church and not many other buildings on the property, then maybe you can get away with 4 guys, but if you other ones, you have a lot more. So, and then you also have to figure out how many services you have. If you have 2 services on a Sunday or 5 or 6, well, that's a big difference in the number of team members you're going to need to stock each one of those masses and have proper coverage. So what I say is, even if you do need a large team and you're just starting out, just get a couple guys going and just get in a routine, and eventually that hopefully will draw more people. And as you do more promoting for the team, you can grow organically that way instead of trying to have a full team in place. It's very hard out of the box. So what I found is better just to start little on that as you grow, and as you mature as an organization, you can develop much better that way. Recruitment, this is key. You want to make sure you have good qualified guys there. They don't necessarily have to have prior security or law enforcement or military training, as long as you really hit the training hard. But you want certain characteristics. You want somebody that can maintain their control during a stressful situation. If somebody's really irate and using vulgarities and different things, so you have to be able to maintain your calmness without losing your temper. One of the kind of the unique ones I didn't think about until I started doing this was creativity, the ability to think fast and creatively under stress. We do scenario training. We'll actually get actors and we'll replay some scenarios that either happened or hypothetical ones, and just kind of see how it plays out. And when you don't know what's going to happen and you might be less on resources, how you can react to get what you need accomplished with what you have. And maybe that involves either asking somebody that's not on the team to help out, or call 911, or help with crowd control, looking certain strategic areas of the property if you need to get somebody to a private area to talk to them and try to de-escalate the situation. So it's very important that that you can use your brain and be creative and respond to those volatile situations, which are very dynamic. Protocol. This is one of the most important ones I can suggest to you guys, is get something documented, just putting resources out there to look around that you can kind of use when you're forming your policy and guidelines. To be policy, but basically recommended protocols and how you respond to certain situations. Panhandling is a classic one. Do you give the money? Do you not give the money? And this is something you need to be hand in hand with the pastor on, and what his wishes are, to make sure that he's on board. But you want to have a policy. You want to make sure everybody's on the same page on how you handle a situation. That limits the possibility of somebody stepping over the line or causing an issue because they didn't know how they're supposed to act. And you don't want different messages being given out to the congregation as far as how to handle certain things. So it's very important to get those protocols established. If you know any other safety teams in the area, what you can do is maybe see if you can get a hold of them, give them a call to the main office and get a contact and see what they have. Maybe they're willing to share. I share mine with different people, so it just behooves you to create a policy. It'll just protect you legally. Okay, so if something happens and they come in and they say there's no training, that there's nothing established, but at least you can say that, hey, you provided legally compliant protocol to the team and instructions, so that just will help you in a court of law should the unfortunate event happen. Confrontations, number 7. When you're confronting somebody, it's very important you stress the need to de-escalate. We'll have a whole separate video on that. Basically, in a nutshell, you want to be sympathetic to the person that's irate or causing an issue, and the more you can keep them talking, the better it is, because eventually you'll start to see their anger or their emotions start to calm down the more they talk. When you're doing a lot of talking, that can just let them fester and get more agitated. So it's very important that you do it in a professional way and how you approach people. When we're approaching people, you would be surprised how many suspicious persons reports we've gotten, and it's just they're fine and they're innocent people just wanting to worship God. But if you approach them in an aggressive manner, it can create a lot of issues. So, and it can really turn people off. And it doesn't take much for word to get out to the outside community if your team's pretty aggressive. So it's very important that you do it in a professional manner. You can do it with a smile on your face. We suggest being passive aggressive, and basically that is if you see somebody that's a little suspicious, have one of the team members go up to them, just shake their hand, welcome them to the church. Ask them if they're new, if they need help, and then you start looking at their body language. Are they getting nervous or maybe a little agitated or angry? Do they just want to try to run away? That can give you more information on what the person's intentions are. So it's very important that you do it in a professional manner when you're confronting people. And I also recommend always have at least 2 people. If it's more of a serious confrontation where there's something that's happening or there's a disturbance, make sure you have at least 2 guys. There's a tactic we call the tactical L, which we'll show in another video. basically one person's in the front, one's from the side, and only one person will talk at a time. That way it's not confusing to the subject. Number 8 is documentation. Document. Anytime you have any kind of written reports, incident reports, which we'll actually have a whole video just on how you do a proper incident report, and anything that's communicated to the parish, to the team as far as a threat or suspicious behavior that's been noted, or if you did any specific individuals, you want to make sure that's all documented and saved in a confidential, secured manner. It's just important to, as well as obviously we talked about your protocols. You always want them saved on church property. And we actually have a website that we utilize. That we actually have an area for our training materials, our guidelines, and then also our threats. So everything's documented for, if for instance you end up in a legal investigation, they can come in and see all that, and that'll actually be a great help to you guys. So it's very important to document. It's not one of the fun things about doing this line of work, but it's a necessary one. Number 9 is legal counsel. We actually have and this is sort of something you can look inside your church congregation is to see if there's any lawyers. I'm sure there's a couple of them that maybe can volunteer a little volunteer work on the side to help you out, or just to run things by. We've done that with our documentation, and just had them look over that with our protocols, any kind of correspondence with somebody that might be a little volatile or might be a risk of potential lawsuit. Make sure that we're not saying anything that we shouldn't say or could get us in trouble from a legal perspective. And also that's where you can call the gun insurance lawyers if you have that, to get that free legal counsel as well. The last one is insurance. This isn't something that people often don't think about, but it's very important, especially if something happens. You want to make sure, and just you can have to check with the pastor, that the church insurance policy will cover your team. All policies are different. Some have more or less coverage. If you are not covered on the church policy, if something happens and you're directly involved, they can come after your own home insurance policy under the general liability. So you don't want that. So please make sure that your coverage, I wouldn't even suggest starting a team if there is no coverage. So, or at least be upfront with the guys, the team members, to know that, hey, we're not covered. Anything you do, you can be personally involved in. So it's important that you disclose that to them. I hope this was important. These are some of the do's and don'ts that you want to get when you're setting up your program. We'll take some of these other ones and some other videos and really drill into them in deep detail, but just keep these in mind. Some of these you want to do in the beginning of it when you're setting it up, obviously, like the protocols, thinking about your purpose, documentation, and getting the legal counsel. You want to do that in the beginning stages, and then as you develop as a team, there's other things you just want to keep in mind here as far as how you confront people, as you try to build your team, different ways you can recruit and what you're looking for, and kind of tightening that up a little bit. So hopefully this was beneficial to you. Check out our other series. We're putting out a whole series on church security. Hopefully it'll be beneficial, and stay safe and alert. Take care.